Today, we are talking about social work salaries. If you want to know what's going on in the field and what people are making, and you want to hear the honest, real truth about salaries, you are in the right place, my friend. This is a collaborative episode that I did with my friends over at the Social Work to Wealth podcast. Make sure to check it out. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already, and enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Social Work 12 podcast. I'm Taylor and here with my co-host Faith. And we also have Catherine.
Yay!
Hi!
Welcome to our joint podcast episode. So I guess for the Social Work 12 podcast listeners, Catherine, you want to introduce yourself and tell us about you and your podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to. So my name is Catherine Moore. I am an LCSW based out of Southern California. I have been social working since 2009. So been around the block a couple times, worked in different settings as far as with older adults, done political advocacy, done affordable housing. The majority of my work has been in the medical setting. So working in all different types of settings, including hospitals, emergency rooms, ICU, maternity care, NICU, palliative work, hospice work, outpatients, inpatients, all of the
What
above,
has she
all
not
sorts
done?
of patients.
Wow.
Whoa. all sorts of patients. And currently I do a lot of different things, which we'll kind of talk about income streams in this episode. So stay tuned, listener. But right now my main things are therapy. So I do telehealth, and then I also do in-person therapy at an assisted living. I also have a couple businesses, including the Rise Directory and some books and the Social Workers Rise podcast, but we'll get into all that. So that's a little bit about me. I would like to hear more about both of you.
I also work in private practice, and I mostly treat OCD and PTSD. I am based in Colorado, but I have in my kind of clinical history, I did refugee resettlement, and I also did family reunification. And then I provided mental health therapy in schools, so with like primary students and then all the way up through high school. And I got an opportunity to do that when I was living abroad for a couple of years. So that was really cool experience to kind of do international social work for a while too. So more like mental health focused work for me. But yeah, that's a little bit about what I've done.
Yeah. And I have been mostly a medical social worker, so working in hospice, hospitals. Currently, I work in organ donation transplant, so talking with families about their loved one becoming an organ donor. And then on the side, we have the Social Work to Wealth. I'm the, creator of the platform for social workers. Really, my hope is to provide like money education and career guidance for social workers. And so it started off as a blog in 2022, me documenting my journey of paying off 6 figures of debt. We are still, my husband and I are still in that journey. But yeah, and then Faith and I started the podcast January 2025, but we're really just kind of with everything that we're doing, committed to, ending this belief that like social workers have to struggle financially to do this work. And so, we focus on salary transparency, career mobility, and just like empowering social workers to build a life and career that's financially sustainable and, emotionally sustainable. Like the two can coexist.
They can. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, it's been fun and excited to talk with you, someone who's been a podcaster in the social work space for so long. So yeah, happy to have you here and have this conversation. So today we're talking about salary transparency. How much can you make as a social worker? Super excited to get into the details of that, but I feel like for me personally, like salary transparency is just so important for us to, be able to close the pay gap and kind of break this silence around just inequality, and also to help social workers make it informed decisions about job searching. And yeah, I think this this kind of whole conversation started with my desire to collect salaries on the in the salary database that I have. So I just
Mm-hmm.
counted it up today. It's
Yeah, how many do you have?
1,509 salaries.
Whoa!
Pretty
That's
good.
Wow.
that is
Hmm. Yeah. I started collecting them in January 2024. So it's almost been 2 years. Um, and yeah, I don't know, I had this kind of like idea of, I mean, I'm kind of nosy, but I also like to share my own salary. And I
yeah.
was just like, I just wonder what social workers are making. So I just made this form, really just it in one night, made a Google form and put it out there. And I think in like within 48 hours, it got like 500 entries. It
Mm-hmm.
was kind of nuts. Um, and so I started sharing those salaries on my Instagram, and people just really were enjoying, this conversation and talking about salaries. I didn't realize that other people would, want to know this information too. So, it's been a
Yeah, I
really
think I think
interesting.
Taylor, people just really appreciate the transparency, right? Because there's just a lack of transparency in our field around salaries. And I think there's also the assumption that everyone gets paid really, really low in the field. And I think that we've been finding that that's actually not always true. Like there are social workers who actually make a decent livable wage, and there are social workers that are severely underpaid. And so it's this idea of like, hey, we need to bring transparency to this. We need data to back up, some of these beliefs that we have.
Yes.
And hopefully through this work that you've started, Taylor, we can actually start to change the conversation around talking about how much we make, so that we can make more informed decisions. And so I don't know, I just think that's awesome. And I can't believe that we're at 1,500. Like, that's
Um,
insane. I remember when it was like, so you were like, I have 500, I have 550, I have 600. And now it's like, yes, it's just growing and growing. It's awesome. It's
yeah.
so
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Hmm.
amazing. I'd love to share it with my audience too, because I'm sure they would pitch in their salaries and information also.
So Catherine, I'm curious, like what has your journey been like as a social worker regarding money and, salary progression and just, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as with my salary, okay, keep in mind, I've been in the field since 2009. That's when I got my bachelor's degree. And oh my gosh, my first job, I probably made $20 an hour coming out of my bachelor's program.
Hmm.
This was during the other recession back in the day. So I was working two part-time jobs at about 20, 25 an hour, just trying to make ends meet. And then since they're just really trying to grow, but I love how the narrative around finances and talking about money has shifted in social work, because when I started, it was very much you're in it for the outcome, not the income. And so I just had that in my
Hmm.
head. I was like, oh, okay, I just won't expect to make much money. And that was the expectation. And I was just going to live a life of poverty for myself. Um, but there came a time where, I mean, real life was happening, and I'm thinking, okay, I can't afford to be a social worker anymore because these bills are not going to pay themselves, and I'm not trying to have my master's degree and be poor. And so that's
Hmm.
around the time that I got licensed and I started the podcast, and I just really started talking about like what are our options when we have a social work degree. And so
Yeah.
now I just love that there's this message that you can, in fact, have income and impact in the same thing, and you don't have to feel burnt out doing it. It is a graceful balance, I will say, that takes a lot of practice and skill set and a
Yeah.
high level of self-awareness, but it is possible. It's just I believe that it's a skill that we're all learning and growing in.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And I agree. I think it's really great that we're kind of highlighting this conversation and maybe giving hope to some people who are feeling like, they've maybe told their family, yeah, I'm going to be studying social work, and then they get this response like, oh God, you're going to be
Yep.
poor.
Yep. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
obviously there are these salaries that are really still concerning. And there are also these salaries where it's like, wow, social workers are actually making decent money, you know? I think Faith and I have been trying to kind of have this balance of still advocating for social workers in these roles where they're severely underpaid, being exploited essentially, but also
Mm-hmm.
giving exposure to, you know, career paths and just showing social workers that there are also ways to make money in this field or as a social worker. So it's interesting that like both things are happening right now in the field.
For sure.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, Catherine. Yeah, I'm curious, Catherine. You mentioned in grad school, kind of getting this message about like, being in it for the outcome, not the income. So, what do you wish someone had told you about salaries when you were in your master's program? Like looking back, what do you wish they kind of had told you about salaries or that topic?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to know you get what you look for. So if you have, for
Mm,
me, I had to figure out my finances. What salary did I need to have? And then from there, what kind of
mm-hmm.
jobs are going to pay me that salary?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking just so desperate, like, let me just find a job, any job. Uh, but
Me
Yeah,
now,
too.
right.
now I do understand as a privilege, right? Because I do have a job, I do have income. So that is a privilege to have the space to say, okay, I need this income and I'm not entertaining any kind of offers that are not going to meet this income. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wish somebody would tell me is, hey, you need to figure out what it is that you need and how you're going to get there. Right out of grad school, it's totally normal to not make that much money because you're still growing your skill set, you're still learning, you're not licensed yet, and especially depending on location and experiences and certifications. But you can use those years, I would say, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 2 years out of grad school that you're like getting your footing and you're really trying to figure out what
Mm-hmm.
your niche is and where you're going to go and what certifications you need, all these things. But after that, I mean, the sky's the limit with that. And I'm sure too,
Mm-hmm.
there are some entry level positions that do pay more, but I imagine they're just harder to find.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think really
Mm-hmm.
just like setting up that expectation of like, you can make money. It's okay if it takes a little bit of time. You will get there. Please don't drop out and burn out of social work before you get there. So
Right.
that would be it.
Yeah, right. That's a real thing, right? A lot of social workers are like, I don't know if I can stay in the field with kind of the cost of living being so high and the burnout rate being so high. And I paid all this money for this degree. And how am I going to make my student loans? And so, yeah, I think that that's really good advice. That's really good
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And also too, like your entry level job is not your forever job. Like some people are like, "Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
got
Yes.
this job and I don't like it. I just want to get out of social work." Like it's not your forever job. It's just a stepping stone. I had to quit my first job because that's just what their business model was, is they hired new grads at a low rate and then once I got licensed, they're like, "We're not giving you a raise. This is just what it is." And so I had to leave
Oh
because
boy.
once I
Oh
got
boy.
licensed, yeah. Yeah. Once I got licensed, I was like, all
Yep.
right, well, I need to make more money now. So bye guys. But it wasn't anything
Yeah.
personal. It was
Yeah.
just their business model.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's a good way to think about it too. And I think also like being okay leaving a job, like as a social worker, Taylor, you've talked about this before. Like it's okay to leave. Like it's okay to, kind of choose the next thing that's going to maybe pay
Right.
more or yeah.
Yeah. And it's okay
Hmm.
that if the reason you're leaving is because you need more money, period.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like that could
Totally.
be the only reason because we have bills to pay, you know? Like it's all right.
100%. Hey, social workers, are you looking for clinical supervision or hoping to offer it? Check out Rise Directory. It's the national hub connecting associate social workers with licensed clinical supervisors, making it super easy to find your right match in your state. Head over to risedirectory.com and see how it can help you grow in your career. You know, a lot of social workers think their employer's insurance has them covered. But here's the thing, that policy is really there to protect the organization, not you. That's why I always recommend having your own coverage with a trusted organization such as HPSO. Their professional liability insurance is designed for social workers and it follows you wherever you work. It's peace of mind you just can't put a price on. Check them out at hpso.com/swrise.
Well, let me talk a little bit about these salaries. I pulled some, just like various trends. It's kind of interesting. Um, I think there's, like we were talking about earlier, there's just like a wide range of salaries from $20,000 for like very part-time roles to $300,000. Yes, there are social workers making $300,000 even in the 200s. So yeah, that's super fascinating. In the under 40,000 was about 10 to 12%. So that's like mostly BSW roles, part-time roles, community mental health, some school social work
Oh
roles,
boy. Oh
and
boy.
then new
Mm-hmm.
grads in lower paying regions. The kind of the largest percentage of the 1,500 salaries was between 40,000 and 60,000. So that's like newer MSWs in community mental health centers. I remember as a new grad, even in 2018, making $40,000 in a community mental health center. Many school social workers, medical social workers in low paying regions. Second kind of biggest cluster was between 60,000 and 80,000, so about 30 to 35%. So hospital social workers, macro roles, program coordinators, some agency therapists. And then now we're getting into a little bit of the higher salaries. So between 80,000 and 100,000, we have was about 10 to 12% supervisors, senior clinicians, certain public health roles, macro managers, directors, and then, 100,000 plus is corporate roles, program directors, government roles, higher earning hospital roles, consultants, private practice clinicians, corporate. I think those are like, kind of very, expected. I feel like it's interesting kind of seeing it broken down because as I'm reading it out, I'm like, this does make sense to me,
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
is what do you think, Catherine? Is that kind of in line with what you kind of understand about the salary kind of landscape?
Yes, yes, absolutely. The lower it's really depending on your educational level, if you have any special certifications, and also your location and the businesses available in your area. For example, you mentioned medical social work in some low paying areas. Yeah, people who may be working for a nonprofit or a community health center, they may not be making as much money as somebody working for a major corporation hospital. Someone in, I don't know, Ohio may be making less than somebody based out of Los Angeles, right? Or San Francisco. So it just depends on the area. So which for me gives me hope that if you are in a medical social work job or any kind of role that you're not making much money, there's skills to be learned there that you can maximize on in order to help climb up that financial ladder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I feel like I remember in grad school was just I don't know, I feel like there's no blanket statements that we really can make in terms of these salaries. Maybe some, but one that I was thinking of just as a medical social worker is I remember people saying like, oh, the medical social workers, like that's where, that's like the highest paying, but it also kind of depends with all of these jobs. It depends on where you live. Yeah, I live on the West Coast. Sure, it's well paying, but one of my coworkers who used to live in Louisiana as an ED social worker was making, 40,000. So I think that's really, something that we all have to take into account. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think
And
that's a really good point for sure.
one little lesser known area is for travel social work, and I've heard of school social work. and medical social work, sorry. So you can sign up as a medical social worker, school social worker for travel positions. And the ones that I've seen lately have been like 2,000 a week, which is pretty decent.
Yeah.
That is pretty
Yeah.
decent.
I have seen that. I
This
also go ahead. Go ahead, Faith.
Oh, I was just gonna ask another question, but go ahead, Taylor.
I also was going to say, like, I think there has been growing conversation around like corporate and non-traditional roles. It seems like with the entries that we have, those ones have shown really, decent compensation. So just wanted to highlight that, like, trust and safety, tech. We talked about that in a
Yes,
previous
yeah.
episode, two previous episodes. Evaluation, research, program management. So I think,
Mhm.
those seem to kind of fall more under this macro lens. And so I think there's definitely some, good earning potential there. And I personally didn't really know much about macro social work when I was in school. I was just like,
Mhm.
I don't know what they're doing over there, but like I'm I'm doing this. But I kind of wish now that I know what it is, I'm like, that would have totally been my jam. So anyways,
Mm. Well, and also actually, Taylor, I remember in grad school hearing that macro social workers didn't make a lot of money. I actually remember
that's
hearing that.
interesting.
Yeah, because I remember one of our
Interesting.
friends was doing, yeah, she was doing her internship in macro, and she was like, it's really hard to find a job. I don't think I'm going to make a lot.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't go to macro because
Fascinating.
I really would have loved to do macro. And so it is exciting to hear that there are opportunities out there for macro social workers to make a livable wage. And also, just want to do a little shout out. If you work in tech and you are a social worker, please fill out the salary survey because we'd love to know what you're making because I think it's potentially higher
Okay.
salaries. But Catherine, the question I'm curious about is because we're kind of talking about salaries and around that topic, what do you think social workers should know about the future of the field when it comes to compensation?
Yeah, for sure. This is such a loaded question, but I love it.
Yeah.
There's this could be like a whole podcast episode in itself, but there's so many different ways. I think that what we're going to see going forward is a
Mhm.
diversification and just so many different options to use our skills in new ways, right? So AI is a
Mhm.
thing, it's here, it is here to stay. And I believe it's never, ever going to replace the work that social workers do, the work that therapists do, because people don't want to talk to a robot when they're feeling down or when they're in crisis, when they're at school. They need to
Mhm.
talk to a real human. So if you have those human
Mhm.
skills, if you have those skills that are not going to be replaceable by AI, which is what we do, right? Then that's going to be huge. Also, so many opportunities to
Mhm.
diversify your income. So for me, I've worked really hard on diversifying my income. Right now, I have 8 income streams. So it's going
Wow.
to
Wow.
be yeah, yeah. And so I feel like I've planted these seeds, right? So first and
Yeah.
foremost, it's therapy. And then I had to write them all down because I forget them. But therapy,
That's
I
the
do
goal. Having so many income
yeah.
streams that you
Yeah.
forget that you need
Like,
to
wait,
kind of
what?
think. So wait,
Yeah.
how many ways am I making money?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But just for your reference, doing therapy, I am a clinical supervisor. I created the supervision log and resource guide. So that's a book available on
Yes.
Amazon.
Okay.
I own the Rise directory. I also have the Social Workers Rise podcast. I have 2 courses, and then I also get affiliate income from various organizations such as PESI and other independent like course creators and mental health professionals that offer affiliates too. Yeah. So there's a
Awesome.
lot there. Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing
So it's
that. I think
really
that's super helpful to hear. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So while I'm not a millionaire, I at least feel like I have all of these seeds planted. So should something happen, like maybe my main mental health platform goes down, which has happened in the past, I still have these other income streams that I can really start to nurture and to grow and to expand. And so there's
Mhm.
always options there. And also too, social work is not going away. So there's going to be job security in this field, especially if you're able to focus in on AI, on school social work, on medical social work. All of these areas are expanding, and the awareness of society and culture and politics and the people who have all of the money, it's expanding, and they're really starting to see the value of mental health workers. So that
Hmm.
that is that. What do you girls think about that?
Yeah. No, I think that's really great. And I think
Mhm.
I feel like kind of goes into our practical, actionable takeaways for the listeners. I think, trying to diversify your income is great. I think also the job titles thing, I've really been trying to highlight recently that social workers, it's sometimes hard to find jobs because we don't know what to search, right? Because we have this degree, but our job title could be program director, wellness resource advocate, like wellness specialist, like all these various things. So I think as we're kind of coming out and searching for jobs, we're searching social worker. And, we all
Hmm.
know what kind of jobs those bring, what kind of jobs and salaries like come up when we do that. So I've created this community. I just started it, just kind of curating these job titles in various sectors. So I have transplant, there's healthcare, finance, sports, corporate, macro tech, public health. Like there's all these different places that we can work as social workers. And I think it's it's helpful for us to just understand that we can work in all of these different industries. It's not just mental health. And so I think trying to help people just see the possibilities of what we can do with this
Mhm.
degree. So I think job titles is really kind of something to focus on in terms of how you're searching and
Mhm.
for jobs.
I made a list of over 100 job titles that you can have as a social worker. I can send that to you girls. It's been super helpful, just like you mentioned, for people to know what to search for and to get ideas.
That's awesome. No, I was just going to say, Catherine, I love your point about AI. I think that that's really relevant. I think I've met with a couple clients who have said, like, um, I want to do social work or that's something I want to be pursuing, but like, what about AI? And what about like my job just kind of being taken by AI? And I think your point is really valid. I think the opposite is going to be true. I think people are craving human connection, and I think they want to work with humans. If anything, I think it's going to push more mental health kind of issues potentially, and more
Yes.
need for mental health services in our society. And there was another person, I can't remember their name right now, but they were getting their PhD in kind of humanities and like how that intersects with AI. And they kind of were talking about the next 10 years, what's going to be the most popular professions. And the first three were like tech, kind of related professions, but then the next seven were all humanities. And so I think like in the next 10 years or so, humanities is really going to be popping off as like a career that you should be pursuing. And there's going to be such a need for it. I mean, there already is a need, but I think there's going to continue to be a need for that. So I think it's a really good point that you brought up. Hmm.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that and hearing stories and public speaking.
Hmm.
I think that's going to be a really high demand area as well, is just how well do you tell stories? How can you communicate? Because people want to hear real, authentic stories, especially on things like this, like the podcast, right? Unfiltered, real. People know that it's authentic. It's not some made up robot story. It goes a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast that was like completely AI because apparently
Mm,
there's this agency who's just pumping out. It's really sad, actually. There's this agency who's pumping out these AI podcasts
mm,
to make money, and I don't know how they're making money, but the whole episode was just like an AI voice. It was so weird. It's like this is not what we want. We
mm-mm.
like you said, we want the connection, we want the like transparency, authenticity, all of that. I think that's yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like practical takeaway, and you mentioned this earlier when you were talking about your own kind of job search out of grad school, is just like, what do you actually need to live? Like knowing your
Mm-hmm.
actual cost of living, how much do you spend a month? Obviously that kind of takes some time to sit down and review your expenses, but I think then that can help you when you're searching for jobs to be more informed about what you need to actually live a good life. I remember just throwing out a number. I'm like, I want to make 60,000. I don't know where that number I just made it up. It had
Yep.
I was not informed at all. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I did. So for a long time, I was scared of my finances because I'm like, there's nothing there. I don't want to look at it. And it took me a long time to really sit down with myself and realize I need to figure out all of my bills. I need to figure out not only currently, but what do I want? I want to save X number for retirement. I want to put X number in a 529 for my child. I want to have vacation money, right? So also
Mm-hmm.
factoring in my bills, my needs, my foods, health insurance is a whole nother thing. And my wants too. So that became my goal salary, is like, I want to make this. And to be honest, I'm still getting there because I have expensive taste and I'm still figuring out like how do I make this possible and pay off all my credit card bills at the same time? So it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's so funny. Last two things I'll say about just like, thinking of ways to think about your salary is thinking about total compensation. So, not just the hourly rate, but like, is there a retirement match? Do you need
Mm-hmm.
supervision? Are they paying for it? Are you going to have to go elsewhere? Licensure stipend, paid time off, schedule flexibility. Are you on call? Do you get paid? I recognize that not all of these things are like direct money in your pocket. And sometimes that
Mm-hmm.
really makes the most difference, but yeah, these are other things that are also factored into your compensation. And then
Mm-hmm.
negotiating your salary. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's
Do
okay
it.
to ask for more money when they come back to you and say,
Mm-hmm.
this is what we're offering you. It's going to be stressful for a moment, but you can do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Always ask for more money. Always. I frame it like this. Like, I think about it. Okay, if somebody paid you $10,000 a year for asking one question, would you do it?
Mhm. Ooh.
Mm. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
That's a great way to
Yes.
think about it.
And I feel like it is so you're just like expecting the call, or maybe it's through email, but I think I've had most of my negotiations have been over the phone. And so I
Mm-hmm.
tell people like it's really helpful to just even have like make up a script and just have it on your phone, because I promise you will be nervous when they call. And so having
Yes.
something that you can read just ready there
Mm-hmm.
in your notes app is so helpful, and you'll get over it. Like, you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You will make it through. And they're expecting you to come back with another number. They really are.
Yeah. And if you get a response that's really kind of shady or shaming for asking for more pay, you should maybe take that job, because you don't want to be working for people that don't, think about your salary progression. And so I think everything you guys are talking about is so important, because social work grads aren't taught how to negotiate their salary, or that they should even be thinking about salary. They're only taught what population you want to work with, what do you want to focus on, how do you want to serve, which is all good, but we also need to be talking about these things, and that it's okay. And then also, our profession is mainly, heavily women dominated. And so, women don't negotiate our salaries in general. So it's kind of like a 2 for 1. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I think you
Yeah.
guys get what I'm saying, but
You
yeah,
Mhm.
it's super
do.
important.
Yes. You know exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying, Faith. And also,
Thank you.
yeah. And also, I would recommend talking to somebody outside of social work as a practice. So if you know anybody in any kind of business or any kind of like place where they're more business oriented, they're about the numbers, practice with that person. Don't practice with the warm and fluffy person like me, because I'm going to give you 100% validation. But make sure that you practice with somebody who's going to give you like honest, direct feedback. Like, no, you need to sound more assertive. You need to sound more confident. You need to sound more clear. Whatever it is, that's going to go a long way too.
That's good advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Mhm.
Any other practical takeaways anyone wants to share? That's all I got.
Yeah, I think last one, keep listening to podcasts like this. Listen to people talking about money. Listen to the Social Work Salaries podcast. I interview a lot of people over there about their careers, about the skills that you need to know. And I always like to take away what is one thing that we can do to start getting started on this career path, especially if you're looking for transitions, if you're looking for growth opportunities. It's a really great podcast to explore those different options too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, let's end with our money moment. How about we do that? So, I guess for people who are new here, a money moment is just continuing to normalize the conversation around money and us being transparent about kind of our financial journey. It's a, insight, a failure, reflection, really anything that you want to share and maybe, hope someone can take a little something away. I'll share mine real quick. It's about my credit card, and I missed my credit card payment last month. So I got a $40 late fee. And this is my own fault that I don't have it on automatic payment. But I just opened up the app. I got in that chat real quick and said, "Hey, I missed my payment." I was a day late. So I paid, I made a payment, and then I went in the chat and asked them, "Hey, can you refund me? I just made a payment," and they were like, "Yes, we can do that." That's it. I just had to ask. Sometimes you just have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Awesome. Catherine, what's your money moment?
Oh, I have a lot lately. But mine revolves around healthcare because it's open enrollment time. I'm based in California. Healthcare rates are changing. I know I'm not alone. It's very validating. I saw this on Facebook that people were experiencing the same thing I am, that their payment in 2025 was one, and then coming 2026, it's hundreds of dollars more per month.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh
So
boy.
I'm freaking out over here. So just normalizing. If you're freaking out, it's okay. For me, I'm going to open up an HSA, a health savings account, which is going to, my understanding of it is it's going to take my money and put it in the health savings account. And then that's going to be untaxed. And so from there, I'm going to pay my health insurance bill with that. So even though I am paying more extra, it's not counting towards my income for the year for 2026. So that's what I'm setting up at this time. What about you, Faith?
That actually, to be transparent, I didn't have a money moment, but now I do. I just thought of one, which is great. And it actually kind of is building off of what you just shared, Catherine. So as many of you guys know, I just had a baby. And so we are starting to pay for childcare, which is so freaking expensive.
how expensive is it?
Like, I don't even want to share how expensive it is. No, it's like $2,200 a month.
Yeah.
A month. So we're kind of like,
that is more than
we love our child, but whoa, that is a lot of money. So my husband was like looking at our budget always. That's what he does. And I think it's called an FSA card?
Flexible savings account.
Yes. So you can open one of those and you can put money on that, which is also pre-tax, and you can use it to pay for your daycare.
That's awesome.
We are like, we're doing this because we really could use that help. So yeah, that's what we're doing, and we'll see how it works. But so far, I'm excited because then we can kind of maybe save a little bit of money in the process.
Man, childcare, healthcare. I feel like those are two things that like other countries really, really got it down about how to
Yep.
support. Like this is really just highlighting, you know, how behind we are as a country because there are other countries who have free childcare, free healthcare. Like those are
Yep.
stresses that people don't even have to worry about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
Money.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
listening.
you.
Thank you, Catherine. I love that we were able to do this. Listen to the Social Workers Rise podcast. Check out Social Work to Wealth podcast. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and
And make
we'll
sure
talk
you're
to you soon.
subscribed. If you haven't subscribed
Yes.
already, hit that little subscribe button. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Take care.